This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
The Illini, the Michigan Wolverines, and the Miami Hurricanes.
Hey, good morning, fellas. Good to be on with you. Yeah, so, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I consult teams at all levels of college basketball, all 32 leagues. So I get to hear different games come together and actually help put games together behind the scenes. So, that thing's been in the works for a while. We finally, on my website, Bracketeer.org, put together our first of several conference pages. The Big Ten page went up last week, and I think that was time to finally just put that out there because Illinois and Arkansas have been working on that for about a good month now. And they're also going to tie that Thanksgiving game to what they call a multi-team event, which is an MTE in college basketball lingo. And that's where each team will also take on at least one home game. You probably noticed now that both Arkansas and Illinois will play Oakland. So one could assume that Oakland might be part of that, but actually I don't think they are because Arkansas is not going to play Oakland until late December. So we're still kind of waiting to figure out which team or two are going to take those slots. But it is really exciting for both Arkansas and Illinois to play. I believe that's going to be a nationally televised game right after NFL football. So I think those are just some of the details they were trying to figure out for the last month is what city it would be in and what network would carry the game.
It sounds like CBS right after the Lions and Bears.
Yes.
So it's, Rocco, you've got the SEC's not really touching football that day because of the NFL stronghold on Thanksgiving. But listen, I love me some college basketball, so I'm pumped about that upcoming game. Now, that's not an SEC on SEC game, but Rocco, I wonder from your vantage point, you mentioned consulting teams and stuff. SEC basketball is further behind than its football, which has been in a part of every national championship or college football playoff since 2006, or their baseball team, or baseball teams, which I think have been a part of every national championship since 2017. I think everyone since like 2008 with the exception of COVID in 2016. How does SEC basketball get better? Cal still stay in the league, but what are some other areas that they can improve upon as a whole as a conference?
Yeah, I think the SEC in the last 5 years has made tremendous strides. I think historically in college basketball, the SEC in some years has not even been a top 5 league. And of course, 10 years ago, somewhere between 5-10 years ago, the league really stepped up its investment in overall basketball strength. Not just having a couple top teams like Kentucky, historically at the top there, but you see schools like Alabama hire Nate Oates and Auburn bring in Bruce Pearl before that. And even when Arkansas brought in Musselman, it was a huge shot in the arm for Arkansas getting to 3 straight Sweet 16s, a couple Elite Eights. And it's now starting to spread wide. You see schools like Mississippi State, it's gone to back-to-back tournaments. You saw South Carolina go from last place to a chance to get first place last year. And it's so I think what the SEC has right now, and you could argue this, is the best collection of head coaches from top to bottom out of any league. Now, I think what gets tricky is the league going from 14 to 16 teams, obviously adding Texas and Oklahoma. Those are not slouch programs by any means either. But, Oklahoma was the first team left out of the tournament last year, and Texas was a really solidly in tournament team. So I think what's going to end up happening is you're just going to have lots of carnage in the middle of the league, and it's going to be imperative for Arkansas, obviously, to keep up with Alabama, Kentucky, Auburn, the teams that are really invested in high-level talent, and of course hiring Calipari and bringing in the talent that they are. I think Arkansas is doing everything they can to stay on top. And of course, the game now is more about acquiring talent through different NIL vehicles, building staffs that are much larger than ever before. So each school has up to 5 assistant coaches plus a general manager. So the game's changed a lot. I've talked to a lot of head coaches that compare it to the G League. The G League has, only been around for 10, 20 years overall, but it's a year-to-year league where you have to be nimble. You have to be used to players coming and going. And for better or worse, that's what high-level college basketball is now. And so Arkansas is as well-positioned, and the SEC is as well-positioned as any league in the country. And so I think what they have to do is just continue to play big games, be in the spotlight, doing the things like playing this Thanksgiving game and the ACC-SEC challenge. I think the money that also comes from football and other sports is inevitably going to continue to keep the basketball at the forefront as well. So the resources are not going anywhere. In fact, they're only growing. And for me personally, I just think the arrow has been pointing straight up for the league for the last 5 years, and it's going to continue to point up.
You mentioned Madison Square Garden. We had former Razorback Kareem Reed on earlier. He's from the Bronx, so I know he's pumped about that. You mentioned the ACC-SEC Challenge. Arkansas will be playing in Miami, which is a recruiting hotbed, not just for football, but basketball. I guess my question is maybe a game on the horizon. Cal had mentioned Dallas at SEC spring meetings. I know that there's maybe a possibility of playing the Kansas Jayhawks in a home-and-home of some sort. Rocco, in your opinion, is there another marquee game that Arkansas fans can look forward to on their schedule that hasn't necessarily been announced yet?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of the same things. And in scheduling, you have to be careful because, the teams themselves, and I do think there are plans to be a game to be announced in Dallas sometime in the near future.
Okay.
However, in scheduling, some mornings I wake up and I talk to a team that completely changed their mind from the night before. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with Arkansas. I'm just saying you can't really ever bank on anything until a contract is signed. And so you would like to see that come together. Of course, Calipari is, with all the years he was at Kentucky, he was used to playing in the Champions Classic every year to start the season, which would get him a guaranteed game against a blue blood program. And then, of course, they were part of the CBS Sports Classic, which was a rotating series against either North Carolina, Ohio State, or UCLA. So that's almost like two guaranteed blue blood games, plus they had their in-state rival with Louisville. So Calipari is used to being on the big stage. And don't forget that John Calipari is also the president of the NABC, which is the National Association of Basketball Coaches. So his reach in scheduling is probably greater and stronger than any coach in America. And so basically whatever they want to take on, they're going to be able to find those games. And I'm sure him convincing Kansas to play might not take a lot of convincing as it would for several other programs. Now, we know that Kansas already has games with NC State, Missouri, and they have to play the Champions Classic. So it really it's probably just a bandwidth question for if it comes together this year. But I certainly wouldn't be surprised if that comes together in the near future, maybe for 25, 26. And then again for, other rumored games as well. For the Dallas game, I've had my eye on Baylor, but I don't know for sure if that's who their opponent would be. But
my dad's a Baylor alum, Rocco. I would love that because they've beat Arkansas the past two times.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have any direct knowledge on that. It's just I've looked at every team's schedule, and the only one that would really fit based on not announcing their big primetime games yet is Baylor as a top 20 team. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if I'm right on that. I could easily be wrong, but I'm sure the schedule is always going to be exciting as long as you have Calipari at running the program there.
Rocco Miller is our guest. Bracketeer.org is where you can find his not only his bracket, others' brackets, and his scheduling information. Rocco, we'll let you go with this, man. I want you to talk about this kid, Oliver Rue, the Florida freshman, 7'9", apparently the tallest teenager in the United States, I think even the world right now. Played at IMG Academy a little bit. I've been watching stuff that I guess Todd Golden's social media team has been posting. For those who don't know, there's a 7'9" center that plays at Florida. Florida's not on the schedule this year, which is kind of wild. So you won't see him until maybe Nashville or the NCAA tournament. But as Rocco's, we let you go. How did this kid not end up at Purdue, man? How is he not playing for Matt Painter?
Yeah, well, it's funny. At 7'7", he's extremely raw. And I'm saying 7'7" last year. So out of last year, he was recruited as a 7'7" prospect. And, of course, by the time he made it on the Gainesville campus in the last couple of weeks, he's now 7'9", which is just crazy. But he's still only 18. He's got limited basketball experience. And I think, I'm pretty close with the Florida staff. We go back to their time when they worked at San Francisco, and Todd does a terrific job, and so does the whole staff. And I honestly think from their standpoint, it's taking a flyer and trying to work with him. I would not expect much out of him in this first year. It's a grown man's sport now, especially at the SEC level. If you're going to play a freshman, you're going to have to be extremely athletic and skilled. Now, maybe they plug him in for a few minutes to help with foul trouble or get defensive stops or a rebound or just throw the other team off. But I wouldn't expect anything from him until maybe his sophomore or after a redshirt year, because they've really got to spend some time developing his game and, seeing how much he can really do at 7'9". I mean, it's a big mystery, but I think it's a flyer worth taking, and that's the way they approached it. And Florida actually does go to Arkansas. They play each other once. It'll be there in Fayetteville. But, so I think that's my overall take. It'll be an interesting story. I hope the best for the kid. I hope he, I hope he has a chance to really succeed. It's just going to be really difficult in one of the best leagues in the country.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.